Friday morning. My name is Janelle Irvine and I am the manager and one of the speech language therapists at the Stuttering Treatment and Research Trust, or START. On behalf of the team at START and the board, we'd like to welcome you all this morning to this fundraising breakfast. Today would not have been possible without the help of our wonderful ambassador Rod Drury. As you'll all know, he is the CEO and founder of Xero, and his CV is full of founding and leadership roles at high-profile international technology companies. We'd like to extend a very big thank you and a very warm welcome to Rod Drury.
So thanks everybody, nice to have you here. I haven't actually been in here before. Just to give you an update of where we're at. So we've just passed US 100 million annualised revenue, which we've done in about 8 years. And the good thing about that number is you can go and benchmark yourself against other companies. So like Salesforce is a big CRM company, they did it in about 6 years. But there'd be very few that have done it faster than 8 years, and we've done it outside of the US and done it in the small business space, which means that it's not a whole lot of big lumpy $1 million deals. It's actually building scalable sales systems. So that takes a whole lot of risk out of the business. We're now number one accounting provider in New Zealand, so we're the biggest by a long way. Number one in Australia. They're trying to claim us now, actually. We just won BRW's Australia's most innovative company just last week, which is pretty good. So business is in a really great shape. We're getting beaten around, but we raised a couple hundred million this time last year, so we've got plenty of cash, and we'll just put our heads down, and it doesn't really matter what people say. We'll just keep doing it, and then we'll laugh at them in a few years, so all good. So in terms of stuttering, I must have been standard 3 or standard 2 or something, and I got pulled into a room for people with speech problems. And I don't have a speech problem, but apparently I did, I hadn't really noticed it so much through then. But I remember there was Bledisloe School in Hawke's Bay. They had a speech lab there or something, and through the end of primary school and through intermediate school, would go and do speech therapy. And then I think it must have been at high school when I really realised I had a stutter, and my one was mainly a block. I just couldn't get things out, and I don't remember too much back in those days. I remember phoning up girls was pretty stressful. Who's that? Oh, is that you, Rod? Actually, I had a really good mate, Chris Tremaine, whose father was Kel Tremaine, and I used to be a little bit nervous phoning up Chris, and I'd phone up. I remember phoning up, and Kel answered the phone, and I was having trouble saying something. And he goes, "Oh, is that you, David?" And this other mate of ours, David, goes, "Yes." And then I ended up him having this conversation with me about something totally different. I still feel bad about that. Fun. And then, so school was fine, went to university. In the first year of university, it's all kind of the teacher at the front just sort of firing things out, and that was all pretty quiet. But then you start getting into sort of second and third year, and you have those sort of smaller interactive groups, and that must have been pretty stressful. Then I went in and worked for Arthur Young and into the workforce in my early 20s. And I was really bad then. I remember, could hardly speak at all. And you always remember those sort of creeping death meetings where you get like 20 people in a room, and you've got to go around and you've got to introduce yourself. Oh God, that's awful. And your heartbeat's going about 200 miles an hour. And just a few times, I could not get my name out. And so it was pretty horrible. I remember one time, I was really angry, actually. One of the partners at EY, he's a great guy, he just skipped me. And I was like, it was pretty sad. So there's a few things like that. And I remember, it got pretty dark for a while. And at that point, I went and did speech therapy. So I ended up doing a smooth speech course with Roz. Got to meet Jim Quinn, and we've been good mates since then. And I think that helped. So slowing your speech down and not having those hard blocks. I think I found you just couldn't push your way through those. And then I'd always been very sort of conscious of it, but I loved what I was doing with work. So I started thinking, well, if I'm in a group meeting, I'm going to put my hand up and ask a question. And I think I had a really active strategy of building confidence. So I still, very much am a stutterer now, and if I'm a bit tired, but I probably haven't blocked hard for a few years. And I'm just speaking to lots and lots of people. I just do it all the time as much as I can. And of course, because you knew that like a few years ago that would be a completely impossible dream, I get quite a lot of satisfaction out of doing it. Anyone got any questions or discussion points?
What would you want somebody to do who you were doing a networking thing with and you were getting really blocked or stuck?
Yeah, so I had that exact situation. I was at a quite a big sort of business meeting, and there was probably 30 in the room, and it was that creeping death introduction. And the guy I'd met a few times before, he's not here I don't think, but I knew he had a really bad stutter and was in a really bad in that really bad phase. And so it got round to him, and he probably had a good 30 or 40 seconds at it. And I was sort of the guest speaker, so I just what I did, and I was really thinking, what do I do? Do I do? Do I not? Do I do? And so what I said was, I actually introduced him, and I said, I know exactly where you're coming from because I've had a stutter as well, and that's no one had known. So I don't know what the etiquette of that. If you could tell me that, it'd be great. But it was awful, and it was awful because I'd been there before as well, and no one really knew what to do. So in the end, I just introduced him. He wasn't going to get there.
Can I ask, why do you think other people noticed your speech problem when you were little and you didn't notice?
I don't know, I was 7.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a good thing, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, so the other sort of onto that is you look for it in your own kids, and but I haven't seen that, and apparently my dad had a bit of a stutter, so I thought my boy got a 10-year-old, but I was pretty keen to get him into speech and drama. Because not speaking in a public place has been such a big deal, I was really keen for him to just be normal. So he does drama and speech, and gets out and talks in front of people and talks in front of a crowd. And I always get him to ask questions if there's if he's in a thing. So I think there's just a bit of experience of trying to make sure that he's getting confident because I wasn't.
Do you remember a time when you thought it's okay to stutter, it's okay to say that I stutter?
It's hard to hide, but if there has been a stuttering article, I've linked to it and I've said, yeah, this is what I do. Or when someone asks me about stuttering, yeah, fine, I don't care. So, and I think again, you have a responsibility if when you do become a bit of a leader and people know who you are. Then these are simple ways that you can give back in a small way. So for me, it's not just an obligation; it's an opportunity to do something good, which I think people always look to do. So yeah,
it is great for us to have people like you and our other ambassadors who are quite happy to be known as someone who stutters and.
Yeah, but there's always been people like that guy on the TV, Ian Grant. He was always pretty public about that, and of course, I knew emotionally when he talked about a stutter, I was like, yeah, cool. So I think it's for all of us, it's a pretty natural thing. Jim's had obviously a lot of profile over the last few years. What he's been doing, I'm always so proud when I hear him on the radio. There's Jim. Oh, I heard that one. And I know he must be going all the stuff that I do, and it's it's a shared experience and all of that. So yeah.
How do you find a TV studio compared to just sort of normal public speaking? Coping techniques to help through that?
I don't know. I mean, it's worth it to meet Tony Street because she's just gorgeous, and she's really so a bit of it, a bit of that banter and all that sort of stuff. So you sort of do that. So and they're really good at that. They relax people into it. It's hard, but it's I think for a stutterer, it's the ultimate goal, right? So if you can do that. Go and talk about stuttering. Then at least then you're all kind of warmed up, and if and if it goes really badly, it's actually good for TV. So Yeah.
I just convinced myself I was the subject matter expert, and therefore I knew what I was saying, and nobody else did. And I think that helps you calm down a bit.
Yeah.
Personally.
I put my hand up to answer a question, and then I'd start stuttering next, so it exacerbated the whole thing. But then over time, I realised that I had to do it. people were actually thinking that I was deliberately pausing to create effect.
Yeah, them too. Yeah, so it's cool. Yeah.
What advice would you give parents starting the journey in terms of helping their kids through stuttering?
Obviously, I was very aware of it with I got 3 boys and 2 girls. Do girls stutter?
But not as
Yeah.
much.
I don't think I've ever met one. Have you got any stuttering girls here?
Yeah.
Where were you when I was young? Yeah. But I think, it'd be, connect them with people like me, just so that they can see there's other people that do it and you actually get through it. I mean, I don't remember getting through it, but now I just do what I do. But I am a stutterer, so you can feel it all the time, and you're very careful. You're never not one. So it's something you'll always have, but it obviously can be managed. The intervention of smooth speech, which just gave you a technique to deal with it, and then using that, and then just getting confidence. So and that confidence is a combination of doing it, and then, as Jim says, being a subject matter expert. So that side of it's taken care of, and I think what the positive side of that is you're going to really work hard to know your subject matter. So you're probably going to do quite well because if you know that stuff. So it's getting experience. But reach out, come send me an email. I'm happy to spend time with kids, especially people that are in that phase where it's getting a bit dark and that they're really struggling. Happy to help.
So you never feel you're not a stutterer?
Correct. Yeah.
As an adult, yeah.
As
an adult now.
Yeah.
But also Start runs programs for children.
Mm-hmm.
So, and the great success that sort of Start has with the speech language therapists got to children, get them in early, because then there aren't any adult stutterers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I always believe very much in business as well in positive feedback cycles. So even in business, you don't do the big thing first. You do lots of little small things, and each one gives you that positive feedback. So again, you just start from scratch. A little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more, and then suddenly you're on the TV. So.
Do you have an alternative to the quick introductions in meetings?
Try to get in there first. I can't go first. I can't remember. Yeah. Try to get in there first, or sounds silly, but normally I'm the one speaking, so it's everyone else. So that's a good technique. Yeah.
Do you think the speech problems were able to learning to overcome your speech problems were useful in the way that you were able to get through the business problems?
I think my success would be I loved what we were doing, so I was interested in computing, and maybe that was part to do with stuttering because you could actually build things with your hands and fingers. So maybe that came because it was easier to express through code, and but it was more about that positive feedback. So each little thing we did with software, the speed of it, so you end up cramming quite a lot of iterations, and again, so it just accelerates that sort of positive feedback loop. I think that's the main thing.
A few individuals who sort of stutter, they often say that because of speaking sometimes a problem, that they become really good listeners. So they really become more like considered, and they think their listening skills are probably enhanced how they operate.
Yeah. Did you do well with the ladies? He's such a good listener. But that whole selling and stuff, I love it because it's a game of chess every day that plays out. And again, I think because of stuttering and having problems communicating, that's even more satisfying. Yeah.
Okay,
Great.
Thank you so much, Rod. And I'm sure everyone will join me in thanking Rod for being so honest and open about his stuttering, being willing to answer questions, and it's just wonderful having you on board. So
Cool.
Thank you so much.
Well, thanks everybody.